So tonight was the National Spelling Bee. There was a time where you didn't even know the National Spelling Bee even happened, and now it's on national TV. And the only thing I think more pathetic than holding a National Spelling Bee is watching a National Spelling Bee. So, yeah, vote one lame for me, one lame mark for me, because I actually flip back and forth between Dateline and the National Spelling Bee. And, it ends up becoming one of these things where, you're going to see if it's another Indian that's going to win, or some child that has a weird way of spelling out words in their head by maybe putting their hand up like this, or the reaction they have. And none of these kids, I mean, no offense, but none of these kids really seem all that sociable. They don't really seem like they have a lot of social skills. They all seem a little bit oddballish. But I know that's pretty mean, since they're anywhere from the fourth to the eighth grade. I think eighth grade is the last in this particular contest. But what it got me to thinking: why have a spelling bee? Listen, I'm the first. My spelling is horrible. First of all, I've gotten better as I've gotten a little older, but when I was their age, it was really bad, and it didn't get much better through high school, and then eventually I, just through reading and practice, and my spelling's decent, but it's nowhere near these kids. So sure, I can appreciate these kids taking time and putting hard work into learning the origin of a word and how certain areas of the world spell their words and where language comes from. I can appreciate it. And at one time, listen, my dad, came in second place in a spelling bee. He's a he's a good speller. I mean, he's much better than I will ever be. But at the same time, it got me to thinking: we live in a world where you really don't have to know how to spell that well, because you have a million programs out there at your fingertips. That if you're writing something and you just have a little question, am I spelling this right? It even puts a little squiggly line over it and lets you pick between, did you want this way of spelling it, or this way of spelling it, or this word or that word. So I know they have math contests, and those are much more productive, I think. Um, but so it got me to thinking. You want to have something, a contest that is really impressive, and it has to do with words. Definitions. If somebody said, instead of giving them a word and having them spell it correctly, give them a word and have them define it correctly. That would be impressive. Not that what they're doing is not impressive, but definition, the meaning of the word, if they knew all the meanings of the words they were spelling, would be much more beneficial. So, I don't know. I guess that's my 2 cents of my Friday night sitting here watching the spelling bee. um, so, it's a pretty slow news night, I suppose. Um, anyway, so like I said in one of my other videos, this Blog TV is pretty interesting. I'll be on it tomorrow night at 6 Eastern. Olga K, the juggler, is going to have her show on at 6 Eastern. So I might chime in and see what that's all about. It's called Blog TV, and you get your account. There's just a million things out there to keep us distracted of the real issues that's going on in this world. But you know what? Sometimes that's what it takes to get you through a day. I was talking to a friend today, and it's amazing. Three of us that grew up together all come to some similar ideas of the way the world's going with natural resources, and who's controlling the money and what's going on. And it's really strange because the two of my friends, they dropped out of high school. Now, they did get their GED and they are making a living. pretty good living. But and just because they dropped out didn't mean they weren't smart. But it's just sort of strange that here we are living in three different states. We all come to certain conclusions, have certain interest about what's going on in the world economically, um, the state of the world, really, the state of the future, and we all sort of have similar ideas, and we've all looked into it, and I thought that was really interesting, considering we didn't talk about this stuff growing up, and yet when I go to work, or just the average Joe, as you say, on the street, you start talking to them about some of this stuff, and they zone out on you, and say, yeah, whatever. Not necessarily a conspiracy theory type thing, but basically it's like, okay, what will be, or or you'll get the old cliche, God's gonna take care of it in the end, and how can you argue with that, right? So, just really interesting, really interesting. Other than that, what's going on in my world? My son, the junior, not junior as in my name, but the second son I have, he's coming up on 2 months. We're almost in June, so June the 9th, he'll be 2 months old. He is growing like a green bean. He's another kid that's 95th percentile of weight and height. Um, so I'm putting basketballs in their hand, Gary and Mindom. I'm giving them the needle for the addiction. No, in all seriousness, everything's going great. It's definitely harder monitoring two than it is one, and that's sort of why I haven't really been on here making too many videos. It's just been a lot less time, but I have some days off here. I haven't been on Stickam in a while. I wouldn't mind getting back into that a little bit. I do have some time off right now, so anyway, hope everybody's doing okay, and any questions or comments, write them underneath the video here. Um, I'll take suggestions at this point of what to talk about. A lot of the subjects have not really changed too much in the last couple of months on YouTube. Um, Still having the same arguments, which is sort of disturbing because you figure somebody would get their point across eventually, but it doesn't seem like that's happening. So anyway, other than that, I will say, there's one more thing I wanted to say. Um, for some people who don't know, I had an anxiety problem a couple of years ago when I was moving, and it was something that actually had been happening over years, and I just didn't realize that I was really stressing over things I shouldn't stress on. To make a long story short, since I'm running out of time here, I've been on a generic brand of Zoloft, um, and it works, but the problem is it also uh, I put on like 20 something pounds, 20, 25 pounds in a matter of months. And it actually almost zeroes out your libido. Um, and so I thought about getting off of it. And from what I read, it's a real bitch. And not only that, there's no guarantee that I can actually lose the weight. I mean, some people do, but there's no guarantee that I'm just going to drop the weight either. So, um, if anybody's ever gone through something like this, just I'd be interested to know. I hear it's really rough getting off of it. You have something people call a brain zap if you're not doing it right, or you're getting those anyway. And the only thing I can think of when I hear brain zap is actually electricity sounding in your head. I don't know, but yeah, the doctors didn't really tell me about that when they suggested it. But I will say the medicine worked. I don't nearly stress out as much, and I haven't had an anxiety attack. That was my first when I was moving. I was in Canada in the mountains, and suddenly my heart raced, my lips turned purple, my pupils got huge, and I thought I was dying. It was my first ever panic attack, and it's just been something that's been building over years. It had been building. I mean, ever since probably my late 20s, I've just stressed over just about the littlest thing that had something to do with me. So anyway, interested if anybody wants to email me or write a comment or make a video about it. I think it'd be pretty interesting. Ciao.